Thank you all so much for coming. I would like to welcome you to our HOA workshop tonight. I'm Betsy Kellums. I'm the City of Greeley's Historic Preservation Planner and Neighborhood Resource Office person. Thank you for coming. We will be having several presentations by various city departments. In your folders, there's an agenda. We'll be going through, at the top is the list of presentations. So we'll be going through those. But we have several departments represented or divisions that are not giving presentations, but that are here to serve as a resource and to answer questions. So we will start with Winna McLaren, who is our Communication and Engagement Director. She'll be giving a presentation about various city projects that are moving on.
Hi, so good to see you all here, and thanks for having me tonight. This is a little bit of a new thing that we're doing as a city, is just getting out in as many groups as we can. You're already gathered here, and then just sharing what we can. Oh, thank
We'll
you.
try this and see.
Pardon the technical.
We'll see if it works.
No worries, I can just also click ahead this. There we go. My apologies. Yes, just try to get out in front of civic groups, share a little bit of information about what the city is planning. And if you ever have anything, if you guys meet regularly here, if you ever have anything you want to hear about, let Betsy or the organizer know, we can hold in on that subject. Okay, so just a little bit of background about the City of Greeley. I like to start really high level. Incorporated in 1886, became a home rule municipality in 1908. This past year, we were named the Community of the Year by Playmaker magazine, which is exciting. And we are a council manager for this. Is that better?
Yes.
All right.
For the purposes of the
No
recording,
worries.
thank you.
That council manager form of governance is essentially saying our city manager serves as the CEO of the city. Our budget is $545 million for the entire city services. About $324 million of that is operational, and $222 of that is for capital. And we do have fully funded reserves. Just a little bit about our community and the current growth. As you are all aware, we are growing really fast. We are actually the fourth fastest growing metro area in the nation, and among the top 10 largest cities in the state. We are expected to hit 250,000 residents. Yes, that's a lot by 2050, so that's a lot of growth in a very short amount of time. And with all of that, I like to say that means we're in the city on the cusp of evolution and a lot of change.
Can you speak into the mic?
Thank you. Can I hold the microphone?
There you go.
Is that better? We'll try not to move. Okay.
Thank you.
I'll be right here. Our community profile. So just a few infographics, and won't go through all of them, but a couple that I do like to call out that people maybe aren't as aware of or familiar with. We are a relatively young community, so we're average age of about 32. And then we are quite diverse, and so 42.3% of our population is Hispanic. We can share this presentation after the fact if you want to dig into some of the other little tidbits here on the infographic as well. Some of our top employers in the city, JPS, and some of the affiliated companies underneath them, Banner Health, Greeley Evans School District, Will County, and UNC, which represent our top 5 largest employers. The city of Greeley itself has about 900 full-time and 500 seasonal employees. Some of the jobs and businesses, so about 3,800 businesses call Greeley home. We've seen jobs grow 23% in the last 10 years here in Greeley. That's roughly about 80,000 jobs at this point, with a relatively low unemployment rate at 3.2%. The biggest sectors for employment: energy, agriculture, and manufacturing, as well as healthcare. So the fun part: some of the major projects that the city is working on at this point in time. If you haven't heard, UNC, I think, just started to rise out of the ground, the new osteopathic medicine school. They're going to be welcoming their first cohort next fall, so that's right around the corner. Approximately 150 students they anticipate to be enrolled every year, and we're looking at an estimated $500 million economic impact over the next couple of decades for the city. The Poudre River restoration, and I do have some information back there if you want to grab that and look at me tonight. We're really looking at restoring the river, this wonderful asset that we have here in the city. The goals being to reduce the flooding and the erosion that we're seeing along the river, improving the river's health and connecting it better to the community, or what I call activating it, spaces that the community can interact with the river, making sure that we have space for wildlife that calls the river home, and then making it a community anchor part of our local economy, not just here in Greeley, but northern Colorado. Arroyos del Sol, I always hate to put this up here, I'm sure you guys know about it, but it's been so quiet. I go every single Sunday for a little walk, and it's usually just myself. So it's one of the best kept secrets for now until the word continues to get out. But about 978 acres of open space that the city obtained. Looking at conservation for animal and plant species that call that space home, as well as creating additional outdoor recreation opportunities for Greeley residents. Very good. Also, if you've been anywhere near 16th Street, they've probably torn that place up, but all for the good. Broke ground last fall. We have completed phase one, which is the underground utility work. Now looking at some of the above ground work, really to get to those aesthetic updates. Sort of what you see here in the picture is the ultimate goal and vision. We want to make sure that we're improving traffic safety along that corridor. We do have a lot of folks that were concerned about the speed of traffic whizzing around a place that really does connect with our UNC, our college community. And so this will really help with what we call traffic calming, as well as better provide connections to DC. Also sort of coming out of the ground is a Two Rivers Marketplace off of 83rd and 10th Street. 29-acre commercial development for additional restaurants, recreation, retail. Broke ground, I want to say mid-2024, so mid-last year. And we're looking to really grow that space into another economic hub for the city. All right, merge. This project has definitely been long on the to-do list for the city. I'm glad to say that we're finally making some headway and really getting this one going. We're currently working with CDOT right now, trying to get some of the initial design plans approved. Part of some of the holdup has been funding. So last year, voters, thank you all, approved the ability for the city to get a low interest loan. And so that did help to close quite of the gap of funding that we saw. Quite a bit of grant funding as well to help complement what we need to get this done. We're also looking at an airport expansion, primarily looking at adding additional hangars and parking. What this does is it creates more opportunities, more future development to become more of a commercial general aviation national airport over the course of the next several decades. This is the first start to improving some of the assets that we have at the airport. Water and sewer, so the Terry Branch Aquifer. We've got about a 30-mile pipeline planned in phases. The initial 7.7-mile section of the pipeline in Windsor was finished last year, and we're really hoping to this aquifer to help ensure a reliable supply for Greeley's growth in the future, allowing for us to draw water during drought years and replenish it during wet years. A couple of new businesses in the last couple of years here to Greeley, Office 3D. They do 3D printing of houses, of all things. If you haven't seen the video, I highly encourage you to check it out. It's quite satisfying. And Colorado Premium, also relatively new to the city. They focus on meat processing and have a 170,000 square foot facility expansion that started last year, welcoming about 275 workers to the city. Economic development has been a pretty big priority for the city, and so you'll hear a lot of that. And I like to help break down in terms of what that means for the city. Job creation and greater diversity in types of jobs and wages, bringing additional revenue, increasing the tax base for the city, investing in targeted areas, whether that's new development or redevelopment, and then making sure that we are offering a diversity of retail opportunities for the residents that live here. I'm sure you all have heard a little bit about a tiny project happening out west here called Cascadia Catalyst. This is a partnership with Water Valley Company, looking to plan for a 300-acre entertainment district with the potential for Colorado Eagles being the anchor tenant for that development. Would also include additional indoor water park hotel with the goal of bringing additional development, so additional retail, entertainment, shopping opportunities, dining opportunities as well. Another project happening on the other side of town is looking at a civic campus. This includes really rethinking how the civic area is built and developed, looking at how we can revitalize Lincoln Park. Again, the goal is that economic development piece, looking at it from a different perspective that will help with future growth, enhancing the city's prosperity, as well as contributing to the downtown vitality and supporting our downtown businesses. Greeley is also looking to attract more entrepreneurial interest in the city through a few different avenues that we've gotten started. Rockies Ventures Club that provides tutorials and sessions designed for accredited investors. G-Beta launched not too long ago, and they graduated their first cohort last fall. There will be additional cohort launching this year. I think 2 cohorts per year is what we're aiming for. And that's really an accelerator program for anyone that's got a really great business idea. These are incubator spaces to help them get off the ground and growing. And then we have a newly started stakeholder group that includes the Rocky Ventures Club and G-Beta to help foster some of that entrepreneurial activity in the city. One area that I can talk quite a bit about if you have questions is tourism goals and strategies. My department helps to run Visit Greeley at this point in time. But really we are amping up efforts to attract visitors to the city. When they spend their dollars here, that helps us, helps our small businesses. And so we do that primarily right now through 3 main avenues, which is marketing. We have all the great offerings we have here in Greeley, inviting folks that want to host meetings, conferences, and events here. And then continuing to promote and grow all of the offerings that the city, the community has to offer. I would be remiss to not talk about housing and homelessness. It's a big topic for a lot throughout the city. The housing side of it, we all know that we have quite an affordability crisis across Colorado, but the nation as well. And oftentimes that goes alongside homelessness. And so looking at some of the reasons as to why people fall into homelessness, wages not keeping up with inflation, things are getting pricier by the day, rising home prices, the affordability piece that I mentioned, and then just rising inflation in general. As a city, we know what we need to do, and that is look at having or partnering to provide either around shelter, prevention dollars to prevent people from getting into homelessness in the first place, find some solutions in connection with partners in the state, affordable housing, making sure that we have some sort of financial housing support in place, and then those wraparound support services, excuse me, when people do find themselves in a position that they are homeless, have those wraparound support services, whether that's mental health, health care, access to job training, are really key and critical. So we know what you need to do. Here's what we are doing as a city. We are following a housing first model. The solution to homelessness is housing, and however way we get there. So making sure that if individuals find themselves there, that we can get them housed that makes it far more easier to get them those services that I mentioned earlier, those wraparound support services, to stay off of the streets. Helping folks to secure permanent state housing vouchers. Again, if we can get people housed, it makes it a lot easier to provide some of the other services to make sure that they are successful in staying housed. We have rapid rehousing dollars, which is immediately getting folks off the street. So think hotel vouchers or other places that they can stay, even temporarily, while we provide other case management services. 24-hour outreach support. So we have a dedicated phone line. If anyone calls that and needs help, we'll be able to get them support right away. And then, of course, continuing to partner with those in the community that work and know these issues well. Is that PD back there? Let's talk. Is PD here? No. All right, then I'll talk. Our Greeley Police Department handles about 97,000 calls per year. Part 1 crimes down about 11% from 22 to 23, latest data we have. And then auto theft is also down 32%, 22 to 23. And then, sorry, fire, just a quick few stats for you all as well. Oldest station in the city is station number 4 on First Avenue. The newest station is station 6, and that's also where our hazmat response team is housed. And our fire department handles about 18,640 calls plus each year. Our water and sewer department, a couple things to mention there. Our lead protection program has been successful, and so that is replacing non-city owned pipes that do lead up to residential property. We replace those for free. We inspect and replace those for free if there is lead service lines found. We have about 21,000 water service lines that have been surveyed, and have already made about 61 replacements with additional plan for this year. Again, there's no cost to customers, and so if you want to check this program out, folks can come to your house and inspect those lines to see if there's lead in them. A little bit of public works as well by the number, 125 traffic signals, 27,000 traffic signs, about 185 miles of stormwater pipes, 389 miles of central lane miles of street. Keep Greeley Moving, which was another voter-approved initiative, essentially to make sure that we are maintaining our streets. They have improved about 800 miles of roadway. The Public Works team also maintains around 640 miles of sidewalks and trails. They've helped remove 1,200 incidents of graffiti throughout the city and helped to maintain about 140 bike miles in Greeley. They stay busy. We know we have some challenges as a city moving forward. These are by no means exhaustive, but the ones that I just want to call out as those that are top of mind for city leaders. Housing affordability, as I mentioned, not a really exclusive issue, but definitely one that has plagued Colorado and the nation. Managing rapid growth, as I mentioned earlier, quarter billion residents by the end of 2050 is quite an addition. So making sure that we're managing that growth smartly is really key and a top priority. So that being strategic in how that growth is coming to Greeley rather than having it happen to Greeley. And then obviously homelessness solutions, looking at ways that we can really tackle what I think is a complex problem for the city, and doing so with a compassionate lens as well. And then I'll hopefully leave this up for just a bit if you want to jot down any details, but ways to continually engage with us. SpeakUpGreeley.com has all city projects that we have open for citizen input and feedback. So those projects that you see happening throughout the city have some level of ask of the community in terms of what you want to see. So I encourage you to visit that page often. All of our social media channels, pretty much the regulars in Facebook, X, LinkedIn, Twitter, you can find us there. Attending community and council meetings. Obviously, if you want to get in front of council directly, the opportunity for public comment is always there for you. And then subscribing to our City Scoop newsletter for the latest and greatest. How did I do on time?
Oh, you're fine.
You can take a couple questions if you have any questions for them. Or if you want to just talk to her after, that's fine too, whatever.
I just want to know the Cascadia. What are they doing about the traffic's gonna happen on 34th and Sunny Place? Do they have a plan?
They do. So part of the benefits, but also the more immediate things to figure out with the potential development is the infrastructure needed to support that. And so traffic is definitely a piece that they're considering, as along with all the other infrastructure both above ground and below.
Yeah, go
I
ahead.
have a question. What is kind of silly, but what is considered downtown Greeley? When I've seen that UNC is part of downtown Greeley, I don't understand. So what do you consider downtown Greeley?
Yeah, I don't know that I've got any firm boundaries for you, but it is that sort of downtown core when you think about the restaurants and the retail there. It does extend, if you will, or have maybe an area of radius towards UNC, just given the proximity. So the connection from the university to downtown is one that we want to strengthen. So I would consider that maybe an extension of the downtown core.
And next on our list, our next speakers are Courtney Moody and Josh Oakes. They are here with code compliance, and they will be talking about code-related issues.
My name is Courtney Moody, and this is Josh Oakes. If you guys have dealt with code compliance in quite a while, you've probably talked to one of us, or if not both. We also have Joan back there sitting with us. She is our new admin, and so she is learning lots of fun things too, whether she wants to learn them or not. But she is doing amazing as well. And so code compliance, scope of code compliance. So code does everything that is not the structure on the property. The structure on the property is the gentleman sitting with fire back there in building inspections. We do everything on a property between the sidewalk and all the property lines. So anything that would be, if you have trash on your property, snow, ice on the sidewalk are the only things we deal with on the sidewalk itself. And everything we do must be visible from public right of way, which is gonna be the sidewalk or the street. We do not have access to walk on people's properties, to look over fences. People, even if people call us and complain about things, we still have to give everybody respect and privacy of their own property. With permission from a neighboring property, we can go on, if Josh lives next door to me and I don't like his backyard, as an inspector, can come and look at my property to see his backyard. And we'll talk about that a little bit later, but we can do that, but very rarely we do that, and we'll explain here in a minute. We're gonna take turns talking, so you don't have to listen to me the whole time.
Hello, everyone. I'm Josh. So the code compliance process, it's, I want to say it's simple, but it's not. We get complaints either by calling or email, anonymously otherwise. Can you hear me? Is the glare of my head too bad? Anyhow, our complaints come in, you can report it anonymously by phone, by email, or it's observed by the inspector. Once we get the complaints lodged into the computer, and then it's given to the inspector. We're divided in areas of the town. Once we get that, inspections usually occur within 2 to 5 days. We try to get out to the property. Once we get there, we kind of evaluate the complaint, look at it. We have basically 3 different tiers: a courtesy notice, a courtesy warning, and then actually a notice of violation. Your courtesy notice is just kind of a, hey, you need to look at your property, you need to look at the potential violation. We're giving you a set amount of time to correct it. An actual courtesy warning is saying, you're in violation, you need to correct it by this date. And then the top one, notice of violation, is when you're actually in violation, we set for a hearing. Depending upon the 3, we can do them in sequence. So sometimes we can go out and give you a notice, and we come back, let's say a week later, it's not correct, and we'll actually give you the warning. And then if the warning's not correct, we give you the notice of violation. At any time, we can jump. You know, if I go to a house and it's a simple dandelion in the front yard, most likely you're going to get a courtesy notice for that. Not that we give it up for dandelions, not at least one. But if we show up to your house and you've got 14 bags of trash, a broken down car in your front yard, and it's just a mess, you're looking at definitely courtesy warning, even a notice of violation. At that point, if you correct the violation, we go back, for the hearings, I apologize, for notice of violation, we then set it for what we call pre-hearing inspection. We go out for that inspection. If you've corrected the violation, we offer you what we call stipulation. It basically says you acknowledge that you were in violation and that you will not have any other violations for 1 year, and then we allow you to pay a $25 administrative fee to avoid going to hearing. If the violation hasn't been corrected, you do have to show up for court. If you don't show up for court, it's a default judgment. The judge will issue a fine for it. At hearings, we generally speak with the judge and we ask for different things. We give you a compliance deadline issued through the court, so the judge says, okay, you need to take care of that inoperable vehicle, whatever the violation is, within 10 days. And we can go back out and do another hearing inspection to make sure you've corrected that. He can issue the fines with that. He can also order an abatement order, basically saying, if you don't correct this by this date, or because it's so significantly bad, we have to correct it. So the city will pay a contractor to come out to the property, correct that, and that gets charged back to the property owner. Other than that, that's kind of the process there.
So we do proactive enforcement, we do several different types of inspections. In 2024, 60% of our cases were inspector observations. So one of two things happen. Either a citizen can call and complain about anything in a property, and we go out and we look at it, or if we're driving around, we can say, ooh, this is really bad, and we can cite it ourselves. So that's what it means when we make a violation. There are other ones called, maybe it's in there, yes, equity sweep. So I get a call about somebody's property. When I go out there and I see 3 other neighbors just as bad, I will cite everybody in that area as well. So I'm not only picking on one property, I make it equal for everyone is what I tell people. I'm an equal opportunist, whether they want me to be or not. In 2023, we ended the year with 65 inspector observations. City Council tries to get us to aim for 50% both that we observe as well as people call it. As you can see, those numbers are a little bit higher that we observe, just because we try to be equitable when we do go out there and observe things.
Complaint response times. Once we get that complaint in, during our non-peak season, which is usually October to April, we get out there within 2 business days to look at the property, make a determination whether there's a violation or not. Our peak season, which we're obviously right now, May to September, we will get in there within usually 5 business days, but definitely within 7. I could say that's what our norm is, but we beat that by far. We're usually out there within 2-3 days.
So our common violations are obviously in the summer weeds. If you haven't looked outside, or if you drove over here, you probably saw some somewhere along the lines. We also do landscaping standards with that as well. So people have a minimum standard of what they can plant on their property, and it can't be just weeds and dirt. Another one is trash and refuse. And that people complain about 1 bag, or as Josh said, 14 bags of stuff, or evictions. Inoperable or unlicensed vehicles, recreational vehicles or equipment, that would include any trailers or jet skis, campers, motorhomes. Oversized vehicles are going to be usually semis, and then snow. And we'll go into depth.
Next thing that we deal with is obviously weeds. Weeds are defined as a troublesome or injurious plant, not including ornamental, herbal, agricultural, or xeriscape vegetation. The owners, tenants, agents must keep their weeds down. That includes anything in their adjacent sidewalks, streets, or alleys. Any weeds over 12 inches on vacant lots need to be mowed down.
The next is trash and refuse. Includes garbage, discarded materials as scrap metal, paper, boxes, rags, used lumber, appliances, furniture, vehicles that are unusable or abandoned. Any vehicles that are unused or abandoned on, and again, this is all on a property, not on the street. Those could also go under the next category, which is inoperable or unlicensed vehicles. It also includes machinery parts, so if people are taking apart their car and you see an engine or a transmission, tires, Any materials commonly considered junk and/or upholstered furniture. So you see those couches or recliners, things that are stored at the curb as well. Some people put things at the curb and just put it free on there. Appliances is another one, and anything that's, even if it's not technically abandoned, it can be considered trash or refuse. So I'm very klutzy, so that's why I'm trying to be very careful around the wires, because I can see myself just face planting it.
Let's move the table back.
I thought about that too.
Next is inoperable and unlicensed vehicles. Inoperable means a condition of being junk, wrecked, or wholly or partially dismantled, discarded, abandoned, unable to perform its function. Unlicensed means it's obviously absence of a registration or plates. So that just basically means any vehicles that aren't running or are not properly registered have plates on it. They have to have valid plates on it. This includes something as simple as a flat tire in a driveway for several days, to being on jacks, to the engine light next to it. Can't have that.
Recreational equipment and vehicles. We do have, there are options to keep them temporarily in the driveway, 3 feet back from the property line or sidewalk, depending on what the property is, for up to 48 hours for loading and unloading purposes. There are people in town we've talked to, and they will call us and say, hey, I've got to have it for 72 hours because I've got a problem I'm fixing. We tend to work with people because we understand things. Equality and ownership, only one recreational vehicle or major equipment, example, boats, trailers, is allowed per lot with no limit on minor equipment like canoes or ATVs. They cannot be used for temporary, accessory, or permanent living conditions. Must be operable and properly registered. The service requirements, all recreational vehicles and equipment must be parked, paved, or gravel surface with proper containment, and they may have access to all weather surfaces.
Next one here is oversized vehicles. Any vehicles exceeding 1 ton capacity, trailers over 15 feet, tow trucks, taxis, limousines, basically any vehicle that you typically don't associate with a residential area. That's kind of a key factor there, because there are a lot of different types of oversized vehicles out there. Cannot be parked at any time in a single or 2 family dwelling. There are some exceptions, deliveries, contracted work, whatnot that we allow that.
Snow and ice. All property owners and agents, tenants must clear snow and ice from the sidewalks adjacent to their property within 24 hours after snowfall. If we get a call about it, we have to go out, we have to wait 24 hours after it stops snowing. Then we can start enforcing snow. We'll go out and give them a little citation, and it's a little card that says, hey, you gotta shovel your sidewalks. And we'll leave it at the property. We come back in 24 hours. If it isn't shoveled, and that includes the inch thick of ice that people don't always get rid of, all that has to be cleared, and if it's not, then we hire a contractor and they come and do it, and we bill the property owner.
What's the, but it has to be shoveled?
I'm sorry?
What's the appropriate amount?
You know, there isn't a standard amount, like how much snow before they,
Yeah, if I have, say, a 36-inch sidewalk, and I shovel 18 inches, is that good
oh,
enough?
okay. So typically, as long as a wheelchair or somebody walking down can walk it, then they can, that's it. So we don't, there are some that will just do a shovel length, and that's absolutely fine. As long as people can walk safely down the sidewalk. If you have, and I've seen people do just a pathway for 2 feet, that's not gonna be safe enough for people to walk down. So it's just using judgment on that.
Chronic public nuisance. Purpose of this is to reduce recurring violations that harm the public health, safety, and welfare. To qualify as a chronic public nuisance, you have to have 3 violations on separate occasions within 100 days or 5 within 12 months. Drug-related violations, 2 within 30 days. Penalties on this, automatically when you're deemed a public nuisance, you have a $1,000 fine, also possible misdemeanor charge, and then you're listed on the public database. Currently, there's 1 public nuisance property, I believe, which happens to be mine. Not my personal one, but my case. 715 20th Street. I don't know if anyone's familiar with it. It's an ongoing issue, but yeah. And that's it on the public nuisance.
And those are also listed on our website. And so when they do get deemed a public nuisance, they are automatically listed on our website for everyone to see. Odor complaints. Yes, I know we have a little bit of an odor issue with Greeley, but it's called money here, if anyone's been here long enough. Code compliance inspects properties when an odor is received. I think I've been here almost 13 years, and the only place I've ever received odor complaints are JBS. Yes, we do get them. We have a personal phone number to them, and we will call them when it gets too bad for people. But odor violations occurs when 3 or more complaints come from separate properties within 6 hours about the same odor. The odor is detectable after diluting with 7 or more volumes of odor-free air beyond the property boundaries. Currently, I believe we have 3 inspectors that are odor certified. It's through the state of Colorado. With an odor complaint, we must have the reporting party's information because we have to come to the reporting party's property to investigate the odor. Most of the complaints we get are going to be certain addresses of where the weeds are or the snow, but these are actually the reporting party's houses we go to smell the air and see how bad it is.
Just some suggestions for protecting your property and private property, especially, some of the people that live in the east side of town with the alleys and whatnot. Erecting no trespassing signs help, motion detector lights, fencing, cameras are always good. Make sure any kind of graffiti is promptly removed. We do have a free graffiti removal hotline that you can call. Just always maintain your property. I think everyone knows that if your property looks decent, you're not going to be subject to getting illegal dumping or other problems. Secure your trash containers. Make sure they're also clean. Make sure they're screened from the public right away so you can't see them. Always report suspicious activity. Always contact your police department and let them know what's going on. And disallow solicitation on private property.
And this is I'm gonna leave this up for a moment if anybody would like our contact information. And I do believe in the packets Betsy has put in our quick guide. Did you put that in this? And so it kind of gives you an outline of who to call if you have just basic information. I think it's 2 pages, so it gives you a lot of things because it's not always code compliance, but a different department, so that's very helpful. Our main phone number is 970-350-9833, and Joan will be the one to assist you when you call. So you can put her smiling face with your phone call. We also have an email that Joan also monitors, and it's code.compliance@greeleygov.com. And then we also have our website, which is greeleygov.com/services/cc. Or if you just go on Greeley's website and go under services, you'll see code compliance.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Ben Schaefer. I'm the Water Conservation Coordinator with the City of Greeley Water and Sewer Department. And so I just wanted to go over some water conservation programs that we offer specifically to HOAs and just give you an idea of what we have out there, what's available. And so I'm going to cover the irrigation assessments, the indoor assessments, and the rebate programs that we have. And I have a full menu of our full palette, so if you're interested in any other aspects, please visit me back at the table. I'll be happy to share that with you. So first with the irrigation assessments. So during irrigation season, typically from April 15th through the end of October, Greeley Water Conservation staff will come to your property to go through the irrigation system. And this doesn't matter if you're a residential property, an HOA, or a commercial property. And it doesn't matter if you have 5 zones, 50 zones, or 100 zones, the process is still the same. So what we do is we go through each zone individually, identify anything that's incorrect, misplaced, broken, not functioning properly, and then we provide recommendations on what the best course of action is to improve your efficiency across the system. We also take measurements, and you can see in the picture here, they're little cat bowls. But there is a scientific process behind it, so we measure how much water is going out onto the landscape and how evenly it's being distributed. And from there, we can create a customized run schedule for your specific property, so you're using enough water to keep your yard green and lush, but not overusing water and becoming excess. One of the other things that we do with the program is in the assessment report, we provide you a return on investment on what upgrades you will be able to receive, or whether you're replacing heads, nozzles, pressure reducing valves. In the report, there's a return on investment of that, so you can actually see the real dollar savings. The other aspect that we do is indoor water assessments, and again, we do this all across all customer classes, and this is where we're looking at the indoor water use. So we go through all the water sources inside the home or inside the business, identify how water is being used, and how efficiently it's being used. We look for Energy Star appliances, look at the hot water heaters. A lot of common issues we've run into lately are a lot of home filtration systems that are causing leaks. And then during that assessment, we provide low flow shower heads and free faucet aerators free of cost to the homeowner. We also do provide recommendations for repairs and upgrades, and meeting those benchmark goals of being efficient with their indoor water use. And so with those water assessment programs that we offer, we do offer rebates on them. So for the indoor aspect, we rebate toilets. And so we're looking for toilets. Right now in the market, the standard toilet is 1.28 gallons per flush. But older toilets, older than about 10 to 15 years, are 1.6 gallon per flush or higher. And so if you went out and purchased a 0.8 gallon per flush to replace a 1.6 or higher, we rebate you $100. If you take that old toilet up to Timberline Recycling Center in Fort Collins, we rebate you an additional $25. And those 0.8 gallon per flush toilets are typically about $180 or so. So you're really getting a brand new toilet with a very discounted rate. And that's open to all residential customers. Commercial customers, or in the case with HOAs, around the clubhouse, we also do rebates on the commercial flush valve toilets and urinals as well. And then with the irrigation components, we rebate just about anything you can think of under the sun. So we rebate smart controllers that have the rain sensor, the weather sensor that cuts off the watering during rain events or the weather that we've been experiencing the last few weeks. And then also rebates the soil sensors. The controllers, we rebate 50% up to $300. For the soil sensors, pressure reducing valves, pressure reducing sprinkler heads, nozzles, and drip conversion kits, we rebate 50% across the board. And so and again, with HOAs and those larger landscapes, that can really add up in benefiting your efficiency and cutting down on some of the costs too. And so one of the big aspects with HOAs and a large amount of turf there is Northern Water offers landscape grants, and what these landscape grants are is it's a collaborative effort between Northern Water allottees and Greeley is a Northern Water allottee, and it's a 1-to-1 funding match for the cost of the project, and so that's up to $25,000. This is all done on the sole discretion of Northern Water, so we encourage you, if you're interested in going that route, get in contact with them early because it is a popular program. But that's one way to look at reducing that overall use on that what we call non-functional turf, or the turf that's in areas that never gets walked on. The only activity that it sees is the landscaper mowing it once a week. And so that's a really good alternative. I know it's short, sweet, to the point, and then like I said, we have more programs, but particularly geared towards the HOA. We're really looking at the irrigation efficiency and improving irrigation components, and then also looking at the indoor water use aspect. And so that's what we can offer. So if anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to dive into it right now. Sure.
How do you guys, I can't think of the word, but determine the amount of water that is valued per household?
The water budget?
Yeah.
Okay, so single family residences are on what's called a water budget. So there's two aspects to the water budget. There's the indoor one, and you'll notice this on the top right corner of your bill. So there's the indoor aspect and there's the outdoor aspect. The indoor aspect is calculated at the number of people you have in the residence, and so it's very important that you report that because it's 45 gallons per day per person in the residence is for the indoor allotment. The outdoor allotment is variable, but it's based on the weather and it's based on the amount of irrigable area you have on your property. So what we do with that is we take the parcel of the property and we pull out all the impervious areas. So the rooftops, the sidewalks, the patios, any of those hard surfaces, we pull that out, and what's left is what we consider the irrigable area, and that's your whole landscape. And so what's calculated into that landscape calculation is enough water to it's enough water to keep Kentucky bluegrass, which is one of the most water intensive crops or turf grasses there is. It keeps that healthy. And so if you have xeriscape or if you have landscape beds, you're getting more water than you need, so that gives you a buffer if you're cutting down on that. And so and then that outdoor water budget fluctuates with the season. So right now with with the rain that happened the last couple of weeks and then with today, the water budget's going to be lower. But then when the heat comes back up, that water budget's going to be higher because obviously you need more water to keep that grass healthy. So the typical trend for the outdoor water budget, it starts off slow in April, gradually increases, peaks July, August time, and then tapers back off September and October. And so so you'll see that on your bill, it'll say irrigable area, and then that indicates what that calculation is for your water budget. And then I didn't put the contact information for us. So for Conserve, it's conserve@greeleygov.com is our general email inbox, and that's tended to every day. And then our website is greeleygov.com/conserve.
This is Ryan Alexander. He's with the fire department.
How's everybody? Good. Hard acts to follow, but I'll do my best. Mine's pretty quick. We're a little bit about fire code for the HOA. How many? Just so I can figure out what my audience is. Anybody who lives in apartments, townhomes, and homes, single. Sure. Okay. So majority of this is not required. It's more because with your single family home and townhome, some of this is once we get into like smoke detectors and stuff like that, I'll explain a little bit more as we go. So fire code for the HOA. Turns on. There we go. So who am I? I'm Ryan Alexander. I'm a firefighter, paramedic with the Greeley Fire Department. That's my GQ photo op right there. At the very top is a motto I take very seriously. With a great mustache and with great responsibility. And that's I take my job serious. A lot of that, the rest of that is I'm a fire inspector. Been doing that almost 3 years now. Fire investigation, dive medic, paramedic, risk reduction. What that is telling you is that I serve our community at the highest level as much as I can. A lot of it's fluff, right? But for the most part, I've dedicated my career to keep our community as safe as possible. So I follow this quite close. So what is the code? The code, what do we follow? So we have the 2021 IFC, the International Fire Code. Should have spelled that out a little bit. This is our Bible. This is what we follow. There's a lot of codes to it. We also follow NFPA, National Fire Protection Association. They have tons of books out there from fire alarms to sprinkler systems and from life safety to all our certifications as firefighters. So we follow the NFPA quite a bit. So those are what we follow for our codes, okay? We also follow the IBC, which kind of the International Building Code, which follows the IFC very closely. It mirrors quite a bit. So what kind of codes are we going to talk about today? We're going to talk about fire pits, barbecue grills, smoke detectors, and CO detectors, okay? The reason why I picked these ones, fire pits, it's that time of the year. Everybody's out wanting to hang out. Who likes s'mores? Yeah, everybody loves s'mores. Especially with my kids, I'm doing it almost every night. And then I can't get them to bed. But fire pits is a big one. It's kind of a big deal for us too. We want to have everybody safe in their backyards and have a good time. Barbecue grills, again, a lot of the rules for it is going to be based off that apartment complexes, but for single homes, it's more of, we strongly advise you to do these rules, okay? Smoke detectors and carbon monoxide. So fire pits, let's start off with the fire pits. Section 307.4 in the book, the Bible that we follow, states that fires in approved containers that are not less than, they should be less than 15 feet from a structure. So that's kind of like a smaller fire pit type of thing. Gas pits, you get them all the time, propane. But as you get bigger, like recreational in their fire pit should now be conducted within 25 feet of a structure or combustibles. The reason for that is that it's a little bit bigger of a fire. You don't want that 10 feet from the home, you want that a little bit further out. That's about that 3 feet by 2 feet type of pile. What we're burning in those are just natural wood, natural combustibles, wood, vapor. That's about it. That's where I'm looking at. No trash, no nothing like that. That's definitely against everything we go by. Bonfires are not allowed in the city. As you go out into the outskirts, it starts going into the farms. You see them burn out in their fields. That's all ag. That's all okay. They have permission to do that. They also give us a heads up that they're going to be out there, so we're not just running out there every time we see a big plume of smoke, because that's what we do. That's firefighters. If we see a big plume of smoke, that's where we're going to go. Cool. Complaints. If you have a pit in the back and you're burning your wood, like you're doing everything nice and safe, if your neighbor complains and we show up, we automatically will have you put it out. Yeah, no matter what. It's just we have a complaint and we have to take care of it. All right? Cool. Any questions?
Ryan, is that a fire code requirement or is that just City of Greeley policy?
That's I think that's more of our the fire policy, the fire department policy. Just because that usually you have a complaint, the smoke is going into someone's home, right? I wouldn't want smoking coming into my home, especially if I have some asthma or respiratory problems, or if a family member that way. So the best way to kind of, correct the problem is just stop it where it is. That's why it's like important not to have too big of a fire also. Yes.
So that means that that person that you're telling to extinguish that fire, they cannot use it anymore?
No, they can use it again. Just right there, right then, they would have to put it out.
So then the neighbor could call you again?
Yeah.
Is there a limit of how many times you come out?
No. Unfortunately. And then, one of the things that we love to do when we come out to any of our calls is education, right? So that person that we keep on coming out to and putting it out, we got to start educating them. It's like, okay, what can we do to stop these complaints, and so you can enjoy your fire pit and have your s'mores and not bug the neighbors, right? And it's more like a windy day. We got to really be aware of that. Also with the fire pits, if there's any red flag warnings, can't have any of that. No fire pits whatsoever. Yes, ma'am.
Smokers, people gonna do smoking, when they fire that up, it's just, really hot, like smoke.
So the reason why it has a lot of smoke, they probably need to clean it out. Because I'm a big smoker too. I like meat. I like to smoke meat. I like to smoke meat. Okay. I gotta make that correction real quick. But when it gets really bad, it's because it hasn't been cleaned in a while. And that's why it is. Again, we come out, if we get called because it smells like a fire in a home or something, and they're not too sure what it is when we show up, we're gonna have some education for that homeowner also.
I'd be fine with it being shared.
Right? Hey, that might be a conversation you have with them. Next time you fire this up, you better give me some meat or I'm calling you in. Yes, ma'am.
So even if these things are happening on private property, you know, each certain HOAs and private property, you can come in and you see that?
Yes, we do. Yeah. If we see a fire, we have that. We can see that there's an emergency type of thing. There's a what is that called? I can't think of it off the top of my head. I know it. It's on my tongue. But we have that right to come in just to make sure everything's safe and sound as the fire department, and then we give it back to them.
Unclean smoker or something.
Yep, we can still come in and say, hey, we have a complaint of smoke coming out of your backyard. Maybe come in and investigate. A lot of people are pretty good about it. If it gets too bad and they refuse, and we really think that there's something else going on, we can go and get a warrant and then make that entrance that way and do it that way. Get the law involved. A lot of people are pretty welcoming and understanding, especially if they're smoking. Meat. They're pretty underlying, dude. I'm just smoking a pork shoulder or something like that, or some ribs. Come on back, And usually you can figure out.
So is this mostly a hypothetical discussion, or do you have a lot of responses of this nature?
Oh yeah, we get a lot of responses with this. So we do this every time. Every time we get a complaint of smoke in the backyard, we do show up. We do give them education. We tell them to put it out. Now, if it's the smoker, we'll have to discuss with them, and then also talk to the neighbor, whoever complained, the RP, and then talk to them and say, hey, this is what's going on. They're just smoking meat. They're almost done. They only got an hour left, or whatever. It's just a good communication is what it comes down to. A lot of these neighbors just not aware of what's going on, and they just smell smoke and they call it off. Right?
Is it more a problem in multifamily environments with a lot of patios and?
We're gonna get into that as we would get into barbecue grills here. We're just jumping right into it. Yes, you're over here antsy.
It's called right of entry.
Right of entry. It can't be that easy. Right of entry.
It's right of entry.
Okay.
And so we can go in.
Okay. Yeah. So, and then once we figure out it's not an emergency, then we just don't. Well, we might hang out and have some meat, but then we get it going. So we'll talk about the barbecue grills. So you're talking about the multifamily, and this is what I was asking: who has apartments, who has the multifamily, who has townhomes. Townhomes and single-family homes are kind of, restricted. It's unrestricted when it comes to this, but we do recommend when you are barbecuing, you stay 10 feet away from your home or anything that is combustible. So if that heat you don't want to lose your home because you have a barbecue that caught on fire that was right up against your home. Now, am I going to come in your backyard and write you a citation for that or a warning? No, because that's not what I do. I can come give you education, but what you guys do in your backyard, that's up to you, right? I have no right into that. Okay, but when we go into the multifamilies, when we go into apartments, when you have multiple families living under one building, we then come into, and we have that right of saying, no. So, charcoal burners and other open flame cooking devices should not be operated or on combustible balconies or within 10 feet of combustible construction. We're going to keep on going down. If your building and balcony are protected by fire sprinklers, wow, misfailed, sprinklers, then you are not restricted to a 1 pound LP gas cylinder. So when you get to the balconies and having barbecues back there, those big barbecue grills and stuff, it's not allowed in the city of Greeley. Charcoal is not allowed in those multifamilies. We do allow that 1 pound like camping stove, little grill, if you don't have sprinklers. But if it is a sprinkled building and you have sprinklers on that porch, then you can have a larger grill. Thank you. And smoker also comes along.
Larger tank.
What's that?
You say a larger grill or larger?
Larger tank. Yes.
Okay.
Sorry.
So is there a restriction on the size? So you're saying, so as long as the building, we have multi-unit buildings, and they're on the second floor or third floor, and they want to put an LP gas tank out there, 3 pounds. That's good as long, no problem, as long as we have sprinkler system in the building.
As long as it's sprinklered all around. That is correct. And I actually have a handout for the multifamilies. If they're printed out, I know where they're at. They're sitting on my desk. And I got here and I was like, I forgot my handouts.
So we'll be buying
Yeah, come on by. I do have my card in the back. Grab my card. I have my information for afterwards. Send me an email. I'm more than happy to send you any of this information too. Yeah, of course. I'd love to get that handout out for those multifamilies so they can understand all that too.
And you want to make a distinction between townhomes, which are I have a commonality than multi-families in, right, because they're attached. Under townhomes have shared walls.
Right.
So you're within that no restriction, but the apartments, which could have a multi-unit.
Yes,
Okay.
that is correct. Well, I got to talk about these couple of things real quick, because I do believe this is one of the things that smoke detectors. Smoke detectors are very important. They alert you if there is any fire in the house, any smoke in the house, right? It wakes you up, gets you out of the house. My whole entire goal in life is to educate everybody in the city of Greeley to reduce that injury or death in a fire. Okay, I can't stop fires. I don't have the magic wand to do that. I wish I had it. I'd make a lot of money. But smoke detectors, check them out. They're only good for 10 years. You should change the batteries every 6, and you should be testing them every month. If you have kids or you have grandkids or whatever and loves to push buttons and make noises, have them get involved and then talk about how to get out of the house when this time. And then find a meeting place and go through that whole thing. So it should be on the ceiling or the wall, outside of each separate sleeping area in that hallway. You should have one in each room. They may be wired together. The reason for that is that they communicate with each other. So if one goes off, they all start going off. So if you have the fire in the basement, everybody all the way up to the top floor is going to be notified that there's something going on in that house. So if you have it wired, try to keep it wired. If you don't have smoke detectors or there's someone that you know that shouldn't be on a ladder, you can give us a call and we'll be more than happy to get on that ladder for you and put in those smoke detectors.
You do a good job with that.
Yeah, thank you. We try our best because we know how important that is to keep you guys safe. Carbon monoxide. Does anybody have carbon monoxide detectors in the home? Oh, you guys are amazing. I think every single one of you lifted their hands up. So no less than 20 feet from fuel burning appliances like a fireplace or a furnace. The reason for that is it could set off some false alarms because it's too close. It should be installed on every floor of the dwelling. You can have that combination with that smoke alarm. They say to have it around 5 feet, but I've seen it, you got the plug-ins, I like to store, install them at 5 feet because it's just easier. I don't have to get down, I don't have to get up, it's perfect, right? You got the combination, it could be on the ceiling also. The reason for that is that carbon monoxide is the same density as air and it can mix quite easily. And so it doesn't matter what height, it will set it off. And it should be tested once a month.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Brian Hadley. I'm the Water Quality and Regulatory Compliance Manager and Floodplain Administrator with the city. And this is Nick Weston. He is an environmental technician for hopefully. We're going to talk a little bit about stormwater quality regulations and how they pertain to HOAs today. So getting off with the really exciting slides, the code references. First is section 26.3 of our code, and this establishes the requirement for any new development or redevelopment within the city to have a permanent stormwater quality feature. What that will look like to you is like a detention pond or a rain garden. Those are what you're going to most commonly see in your HOA. And how this pertains to you is this is a requirement to maintain these features in perpetuity. So that means you're looking at probably yearly maintenance of these features as well. The next part of this code reference is saying that if you do not maintain this feature, the city can come in and do maintenance on your behalf and then charge you back for that maintenance. And then continuing on to 26.3.6, this essentially says that any stormwater feature within your HOA in this instance will be owned and maintained by the HOA, not by the city, unless there's an express agreement with the Director of Public Works that says we will own and maintain that. Usually that's in an instance where we have public infrastructure draining to your pond with your city. And lastly, it says that authorized city personnel can enter these premises to conduct inspections, and that's where Nick comes in. Nick goes out every 2 years for privately owned infrastructure and conducts inspections, so he's going to talk to you a little bit about regular maintenance and some of the components of your detention ponds.
Good to see you all. I recognize some of you from last meeting, so hi again. My name is Nick Weston. I'm an environmental technician for Stormwater Public Works. Public Works Stormwater. So I'm going to talk about why SCMs or sediment control measures, that's what we call them. So a sediment control measure is that permanent control measure on your property. We'll go through the different types here in a little bit, so I'll kind of skip that, but that's what an SCM is. These stormwater control measures are required per the NPDES, the National Pollution Discharge Elimination System within the Clean Water Act. These laws ensure that stormwater is treated before entering waters of the United States. And then ongoing maintenance of these facilities will help prevent flooding within the HOA's community. So what you can expect from us. So what we do is we do private inspections on all control measures within the city every 2 years, regardless of if they're compliant, non-compliant. So if they need work, if they're good, if they don't. You're gonna get a letter from us, and it's gonna have basically a letter saying like, hey, this is kind of, you're the owner of this property, so here's your maintenance that you have to do. Here's the date it has to be completed by. We're more than happy to work with you if that seems ridiculous, if there's too much work. We actually just initiated this new program called a 5-year maintenance plan. So basically, let's say you've neglected your control measure and you haven't maintained it for 20 years and now you need $100,000 worth of maintenance on it. We're gonna go ahead and sign a 5-year agreement plan so that way the HOA is not overwhelmed with a $100,000 bill today. We'll sign a 5-year agreement plan, we can modify that as needed, but we'll just try to get working towards compliance, and really that's kind of our goal with that 5-year plan. But with that, we do send educational documents, so we try to update those educational documents all the time, so that way they're relevant for all of you to reference and know kind of what you expect from us, and also just general maintenance on what these control measures are. And then we send that to the property owner or the registered agent. And that information we gather from property facts, and then we confirm it through Colorado Secretary of State. So the best thing you all can do is just make sure that your property is updated through Weld County or through the state, so that way we're getting these inspection reports to the right people. So a little background on why stormwater measures are required. This graphic right here is just pretty easy to understand, but long story short, in a natural ground cover, you're getting a lot of infiltration into the ground and a lot of evapotranspiration up in the sky. So really you're only getting a 10% runoff from that water that's naturally coming down. And that can be any frequency of storm. And then when you start adding 75 to 100% impervious cover, so a typical city, you're getting a lot less infiltration, significantly less deep infiltration, less evapotranspiration, and 55% runoff. So that 55% runoff has to go somewhere, and we're trying to not have it go into our properties. So that's why we have these control measures, is really for flood prevention and keeping water clean per the Clean Water Act. I just kind of wanted to ask, as far as the HOAs here, what kind of control measures do you have out there? Is it mostly extended detention basins, ponds that get wet when it rains? Any rain gardens? Sand traps? Underground control measures? Alright, so an extended detention basin captures and temporarily stores stormwater runoff long enough for most pollutants to settle out on the bottom of the basin. Extended detention basins should be dry most of the time, except for the micropool, which is a structure that we'll talk about, but the micropool is always going to have some water at all times. But the rest of the pond should be dry 72 hours after a rainstorm. All right, and then this is kind of like a top view and a side view of an extended detention basin, and then some of the features that it has. So I'll just kind of go through the important ones, but a 4-bay, most HOAs probably don't have a 4-bay, they're kind of relatively new, so we can kind of skip that. But basically, it's just something that the inlet connects to and facilitates maintenance. The trickle pan is the concrete bottom, sometimes it can be rock, and it just really helps take those base flows all the way through the extended detention basin and through the outlet structure. The micropool is, the only function of micropool is at the outlet structure. It's kind of on the right side of this image. And really the only function of it is to prevent the trash rack and the orifice plate from clogging. So it gives bigger debris a place to kind of go down and not slam against the trash rack. The outlet structure is where the water leaves. There's kind of 3 really important components of that. There's the orifice plate, which provides the water quality. So that's the piece of the pond, the only piece of the pond that provides water quality. The design of it is the engineer calculated how much run is going to come from your community and rooftops and everything, and it's going to basically drain out at a slow enough speed to allow for sedimentation. And sedimentation is just dropping out solids from the water. So the water that goes into your pond will always come out cleaner on the backside because of your orifice plate. So that is your water quality. The trash rack is only to protect the orifice plate from getting clogged. Both require maintenance, removing debris and stuff. The safety grate is so no one gets sucked into a storm drain. 12 people a year die from that, so be careful. Not really, but in the United States. More common than shark bites. The embankment or the slope is basically the perimeter of the pond and kind of the slopes going into it. Vegetation is really important. We really have a lot of different options around the city. Depending on the age of your pond, you either had bluegrass was kind of the standard for a while, but now we're moving away from that. We're going to more native seed. So really, we can kind of help with that. And the next slide is really just about vegetation, so we'll skip that for now. The spillway is a really important piece. So the spillway, all these ponds are only designed to hold a 100-year event. Anything greater than that needs a place for water to leave. So the spillway is really that point where, oh man, our pond's full and it needs somewhere to go. And so it's going to be not towards your building, hopefully. If it is, let us know. But it should be away from your building and just kind of pushing the flows definitely away. And then the inlets are where water comes into the pond. This is the newest Clean, Safe, Beautiful standard for vegetation maintenance. It's all for non-irrigated areas, so a lot of native vegetation. We can send you these if you want. I have business cards that I can give you. So if you want something like this, we do send them out with every single inspection. But the summary of this is never mow lower than 6 inches for native vegetation. It really damages the root system. So some of the native vegetation around here has root systems that are 6 to 12 feet underneath the ground. And when you're mowing the top, you're actually cutting back the vegetation roots on the bottom too. So they're not able to provide what they should be doing, and it promotes for weeds to move in. Only mow to protect structures and walking paths. So in detention ponds, we actually don't mow at all. That's probably something that you've noticed, and if you haven't, we mow like around private property. So we follow the standard, but basically we mow 30 feet from houses or private property, 10 feet from fence lines. So if you have a fence backing up to a city owned pond, you'll notice that we mow 10 feet from your fence. And then really the rest of the pond, we just kind of let go wild. And there's a lot of benefit to that of pollutant removal, allowing full infiltration. You get that really good healthy root system. It's also aesthetically pleasing and promotes wildlife. So there's a lot of benefit to it. So this is what an underground manufactured device looks like. This is a pretty basic one, but basically there's an inlet, water will go in, it'll hit a weir wall, which causes water to spin, and when water spins, solids drop out, and then clean water goes out the backside. There's different shapes and structures and companies and everything, so this is a very basic one, but I mean, they have anything you can think of. Some of them have multi-chambers where you can put filters in that can pull out E. coli, they can pull out phosphorus, nitrogen. So if you're having areas in the city that have known high problems, you can actually have one of these with different filter types and prevent some of that from going into our waterways.
Does it require maintenance?
Yeah, so everything I'm talking about requires at least yearly maintenance. I highly recommend every 6-month maintenance. It just is gonna save the HOA a ton of money that way, but yes, maintenance. So every time that you have water quality, the water quality is cleaning the water, and when you clean the water, you're dropping things out, and those things have to be cleaned out of your pond. So by design, yes, they all require maintenance. And that's a good point, because this right here is actually something that I highly recommend everyone look at. It's the Permanent Stormwater Quality Best Management Practice through the Colorado Stormwater Center. It's Colorado State University's program, and it's probably about a 145-page book, but it'll tell you everything you need to maintain, and it'll give you a list of what you should do, how often you should clean it. It'll give you pictures of what bad maintenance looks like. It'll give you pictures of what great maintenance looks like. So if you have one of these extended detention basins, I highly recommend you have your contractor look at this and really understand what's going on. So that way it saves you money in the long run and protects your home. This is a rain garden or a bioretention sand filter. So bioretention is, the act of that is basically you're taking the water and you're forcing it through filter media. And that's what's cleaning the water. So rain gardens have plants, and the plants kind of, depending on what you plant, there's a lot of studies going into different types of plants and what those can pull out of the waterway. Anything from heavy metals to bacteria to, I mean, the obvious one is trash, but really, depending on what you have, you can modify your vegetation to pull out whatever kind of chemicals or whatever kind of E. coli, whatever you need to target. You can definitely use different types of vegetation. So this is kind of what it looks like on a side view. Very similar to an extended detention basin, but instead of having an orifice plate with a trash rack, your water quality is getting pushing the water through the filter media. There's really not much to know. I mean, like I said, they're pretty much the same. If you do have a rain garden, it's really important to keep a 2-inch drop at all inlet locations. And it's really important to make sure your vegetation is looking good. Your vegetation is kind of going to tell you if you're functioning or not. I mean, if it looks good, you're probably doing good. If it looks like everything's dead, you're probably not doing good. So our management goals for our stormwater infrastructure is this is kind of what we do. Definitely match it if you want, but number one, order of operation, it has to function as a stormwater infrastructure. So I know a lot of people are like putting parks in them, they're putting walking trails, and that's all fine, but it has to make sure that it functions as a stormwater infrastructure. Two, it has to function, the second operation on that would be, it functions as a native naturalized area. We do like having those pockets of naturalized areas throughout the city to help wildlife migrate. And this is a great opportunity to do that with your stormwater ponds. So you really don't want to mow it like a golf course. You want to allow it to grow the way that it should to allow for biodiversity. And then three, it should function as a public facility, including aesthetic value. So that includes looking good, walking trails, anything like that.
Okay, so real quick, I'm just going to talk about illicit discharges. This is a portion within our code, but unfortunately I don't have a reference, so you're just going to have to trust me on this one. So an illicit discharge is any discharge to our stormwater system that isn't completely rainwater or snow melt. So this is important because it's not like your home where you flush the toilet, you take a shower, you do your dishes, all that goes to our wastewater treatment plant. Stormwater very much is untreated. So anytime you put anything in a drain, a gutter, a swale, that's going straight to the Cashel-Peter River, typically untreated. So with HOAs, we see, and we have a lot of complaints of yard waste, used oil, pet waste being dumped within our gutters, within our inlets, and a lot of times detention ponds. Detention ponds are a great spot to dump those yard clippings, apparently. So, those are typically relatively minor, and like code, we have different levels of enforcement. So if it's something pretty minor, we'll probably issue a letter of warning. No formal fee goes with that. It's just, hey, don't do it again. If we catch you doing it again, you might get a fee. But then just like code enforcement, we can jump levels of compliance as well. So that goes anywhere from a notice of violation, and there's a dollar amount that goes with that, all the way up to an EPA or Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment referral, which they tend to take these things seriously. So if you do see any egregious violations or any just minor violations, please let us know. As Winna said, we will have a new website. I'm not sure what our website will be, but currently it's greeleygov.com/stormwater. And at the link at the top, there's a stormwater reporting tool. And on the drop down, you'll see the type of problem. There's a illicit discharge subheading on there. Please fill out as much information as you can. You don't have to give your name. You don't even have to give your phone number, but we really like to have a good description, a really good location where we can go out and see this issue, and then pictures are fantastic, especially if they have some sort of date or time stamp as well, so we can know when this happened, and then kind of go from there. So we usually get these emails. It goes out to our whole department, and we'll have somebody out there within a couple hours, typically during normal working days. If it's an emergency and you're like, oh hey, somebody dumped 100 gallons of fuel into our detention pond, then you're probably going to call fire department or hazmat at that point. So just a plug for getting that word out there, and let us know when you see these things. We do take it very seriously.
All right, last but not least, I'd like to welcome the Davie Resource Group up. I'm not sure who else is coming up.
I'm just going to introduce my colleagues. I'm Dana Karcher. I'm a project developer and urban and community forestry specialist for the Davie Resource Group, which is a division of the Davie Tree Expert Company. And we are the company that is actually working on your urban forest strategic plan. Over here, we have Sam Haywood and Dave Johnston. Sam and I work together on this project. And Dave is our colleague who actually works in, he manages our office that prunes and takes care of trees. And so we're a big company, but the three of us, see, Dave lives in Greeley, Sam lives in Loveland, and I live in Johnstown, so we consider ourselves pretty local. So anyway, I'm just gonna go through a couple things real quick and then ask you some questions. Also at our table, we have stickers, which are always important. Sunflower seed packets, maybe a little late to plant, but the grass, it's soft right now. And then, not the eating kind, sorry, the pretty kind. And then we also have a couple copies of the Front Range Tree List, and it's a really good list. If we run out, we can get you, you can email one of us and we'll get you the link. for that. But it's a really great list that's put together by the Colorado Tree Coalition and CSU. So let's get started. I'm going to talk to you about the urban trees in Greeley. And urban forests are not just the trees that the city manages, but the trees that exist throughout the city limits. This actual plan focuses really on what the city is managing. However, I am going to talk about the overall, what we call canopy of the city. We'll do this brief presentation and then we'll have a discussion. There we go. We've done a lot of work so far, and so we have the planning overview. Really just means that we have met with specific groups. We've done a survey. Survey's still open?
No, it's closed.
It's closed, okay. I couldn't remember. To really develop what the state of the urban forest is in Greeley. How are the trees? What's the health like? Do we need more? And then we go through this, we'll go through these discussion questions, and then we'll talk about how you can stay involved and learn more. This guide will, it'll be a document, it'll be online, and it creates this vision for Greeley's trees for about 20 years. It guides the forestry department, but also forestry interacts with a lot of other groups. Critically, we were talking about stormwater. Trees help pull in stormwater in a variety of ways. They're really great when there's a drought because they take less water than your lawn does. They're good for code enforcement because actually properties that have more trees are worth more money and actually are. So they're more valuable, so they help in neighborhoods. And I don't know about fire, we could talk about that, but there are fire-safe trees and fire-safe ways to plant. And so trees are important to the community, and that's kind of what our overall structure is about, our overall way of looking at things. We're going to set goals for the community. We're going to set goals for the city for them to activate, and then we're also going to do recommended action steps. So the state of the urban forest is pretty interesting here. This is a land cover. It's hard to see without the lights off, but the colors I really want you to notice are the hot pink that you can see there. Those are impervious surfaces. You can't plant trees there. There's something in the way that doesn't allow trees to be planted. It could be a hard parking lot, it could be a baseball diamond or something like that. Where the green is grass and low-lying vegetation. You can plant the trees there, but you may not want to. Obviously, out this way is farmland. We're not planting trees out there. The gold is bare soil, and where we and there's a blue color in here. Sam, is that? It's hard to see, but there's blue colors kind of towards the top. They're really hard to see on this map, but the light blue that you can see from where you are is actually open water. So what this does is we can drill down into this and see places that trees can be planted, but also you can see that there's a lot of grassland, and there's really a great opportunity for planting in Greeley. So the canopy has increased over the years, and that's pretty good. The asterisks on the list on the communities on the right means that those were done their canopy study was done in a little bit of a different way. So it's kind of like comparing apples to oranges. So take those numbers into consideration a little bit differently. But there has been an increase of 618 acres. But canopy is important because canopy is what provides the benefits, the tree benefits. So you want to grow the canopy, and that's kind of what we're going to be talking about too. And then this is by what we call 1 acre tessellation, which is like little cubes, right? So this is also kind of difficult for you to see, but the greater than 50% decrease is the bright orange color. The pink is decreased too, but if you look there's a bright green area up in the top, that's an area that has increased. And then there's dark green areas, and I can see them on my screen. They're towards the center a little bit, kind of in this area right here. And in those dark green areas, canopy has increased greater than 50%. So the decreasing areas of increase really are about increased development. So we lost big trees to put in little trees. So that will grow, that canopy will grow. That's what happens in development. And then this is the planting priority. So we've given this to the city, and this really says that where the orange colors are, kind of towards the top, That's a high planting priority area. And it really increases, this really highlights the need for planting in more dense residential commercial areas. Someone mentioned downtown, more planting in the downtown area. The lower priority is in the outskirts. There are a lot of trees in the outskirts. They're obviously a lot smaller. And then of course in the farmlands, there won't be planting. And then this talks a little bit about what these trees are doing. So we prioritized the trees by how they're adding to the environment would be a good way to say it. So acres of canopy in each priority area and separated by these priority factors. So stormwater capture, urban heat island reduction, making it more comfortable to walk outside, social equity. By the way, this was funded by a grant that came through because of the social equity grant. And then all of the priorities together. So if those high priority and very high numbers were planted, those were the number of trees that we could plant, there would be a 7% increase in canopy. And this just tells you a little bit about how many trees are inventoried. These are private streets, is the blue bar, the green is the public tree sites. The city doesn't take care of private street trees, but they do take care of public tree sites. So the private street trees are the ones kind of next to the parkway and next to private property. But they keep their eyes on those, and those are inventoried in their inventory. So they have an accounting of all the trees in the city, of all the public trees in the city. And then this is the public private trees, and this is what we call the 10% rule. And the 10% rule is really a rule that arborists use and planners use, that you want to make sure that you have lower quantities of a single species. And so, a little over on honey locust, we don't want any more green ash. Anybody know why? Emerald ash borer, yeah, right. Don't want any more of those trees. Hackberry, crabapple, Kentucky poppy tree are the top 5 trees. But on that list, there's, I don't know, 60 plus trees on that list. So there's more species that can be planted. And then this is the condition ratings, and the way the forester here does it, he does his condition ratings a little bit different. Less than 50 is kind of like really bad trees. 100 is perfect trees, and actually there are really no perfect trees, because even when you buy them at your local nursery, there might be something wrong with them. So we're laughing because people always go, oh, that tree is perfect. Well, no, not really. Let me show you what's wrong with it, because we're all arborists. But anyway, he's got some really good trees in his inventory. He's got some good condition ratings. So the thing is that the city does a very good job of taking care of their trees. And then this is the age class of the trees. There's a lot of young trees, new development, planting programs have led to that. And then the established trees, maturing and mature trees. That's the way we kind of look at the trees in general. One thing to keep in mind is this can't really be changed. This is what it is, but this will skew as more trees grow, right? So the trees will get bigger and they'll fall into these established maturing and mature categories. The reason we even look at this though, is that if you take care of a tree when it's young, 3 to 5 years in the ground, while you can still do the work at it without climbing a ladder, you're building the structure on that tree. And when that tree becomes maturing or mature, it's actually probably in better shape than other trees. So many cities have young tree maintenance programs so that when they get those trees in the ground, they can be taken care of rather quickly. Established trees, maturing trees and mature trees take a lot more care. And then they come down and that costs a lot of money. Whoops, I skipped a slide there. So these are the benefits of trees. We do this through a system called iTree, and iTree tells us what the benefits of trees are. So air quality and pollution removal, it gives a value to it. And so you can see that these are important, trees are important to the city of Greeley. Annual benefits at about $53,000. But the big number really here is that if these trees were gone, it would take 39 million, almost 40 million to replace all the trees. And that's just planting the trees and growing them to the same size that they are now. Trees bring value to communities. And these are just some of the benefits: air quality, carbon sequestration, stormwater, which is one of our favorite numbers. I feel like I've talked a lot about water, heard a lot about water today. Whoops, I already did that one, sorry, now I'm on the wrong slide thing here. And then these are some of the other benefits that trees provide. So we all know about habitat. If you're a birder without trees, you're gonna have a real problem. Property values, I mentioned that earlier. Of course, they're beautiful. Health and well-being. People who walk in nature are actually healthier. Carbon offsets for the things that we do that pollute. Cooler air. People do not choose to walk on the sunny side of the street in the summer in Colorado. They choose to walk in the shade. They provide food. We have fruit trees in our yards. And then, of course, clean air. And then stormwater, which we've already talked about a few times.
And they're pretty.
Yeah, they're beautiful. Aesthetics is, beauty right there in the corner. Trees are beautiful. I'm a little biased. I'm an arborist. What can I say?
Can you talk a little bit about emerald?
Ash borer?
Yeah.
Yeah, so as far as I know, correct me, it has not been found here. Yeah, it has not been found here, but it's only a matter of time. So it was found, it has been found in Fort Collins, it has been found in Loveland, and supposedly it was in Johnstown. That's why they took down all the trees on my street, but it really wasn't there. So it is a small little insect. You can't really see it from the ground. What you're looking for on your tree is D-shaped holes, little D-shaped holes, tiny little D-shaped holes. And if you see those, then you should call out an arborist. The trees, if you have ash trees on your property and you are not treating them, you might want to consider treating them to save your trees. And the city does have a treatment program. You have to apply for it. You can get that online. And there are certain times of year to treat your trees, right? Not year round.
Right now.
It's right now.
All summer long.
All summer long. So if you have trees on your property, they are a valuable tree. There's not a lot of dieback, they are really beautiful. The one thing we do know, research has shown, I'll tell you that Davey, the company we work for, is a research-based company, and the person who heads up our research institute is the foremost authority on emerald ash borer in the country. And he has determined with some other scientists that EAB moves more slowly on the Front Range if it is treated. So that was a new article that just came out about a month ago. Did you get that one yet? I got that one for you. But it's really interesting. So I'm talking about treatment a lot more than I ever have before. So treatment is an injection process, and but the arborist, good company, will look at your tree first and tell you, whether or not it's worth treating. I have 3 ash trees on the side of my house that are not worth treating. Dave's seen them. They're pretty bad. This is my information, and that's Sam's information, but we also have our business cards over there as well.
Thank you all very much for coming.